So this chapter tissues, let's start with definition of tissues. What is tissues? So tissues is a group of cells. When the cells are grouped together to do a common function, certain function, and they have certain characteristics to perform that function, they are put together in particular place, they are located in particular place, then that group of cells is called tissues. And you know from your chapter on cells, we all are made up of cells. And the cells are the basic fundamental structural and functional unit of any living organism. Now, any living organism can be classified into two groups. They can be either unicellular or they can be multicellular. So unicellular, as the name suggests, uni means one. They are made up of just one cell. And we have some examples of that you can see on the screen. They can be amoeba or unicellular paramecium or euglena. These animals have only one cell, and one cell performs all the functions. So they will carry out movements, they will ingest the food, they will digest the food inside, they will do gases exchange across the cell membrane, and they will also excrete the waste products of their digestion, everything together. So that is unicellular organism. But most of the organisms, living creatures we see, have got more than one cell. So they are multicellular organisms. Now, this slide here shows organizational hierarchy. So hierarchy means they are arranged in order of their development. So steps of developments. So you can see on the screen, starting from left side, the cell, there is a single cell of animal at the top and plant cell at the bottom. When multiple cells are grouped together, they give rise to tissues. Many of such tissues, they form organ. When organs are put together with their respective components, parts, they give rise to organ system. Now, the example of organ is like heart or leaf in plants. Heart forms cardiovascular system. Lungs form pulmonary system, respiratory system. Brain forms nervous system. So organ forms organ system. And many organ systems come together to form organism. So it can be animal or it can be a plant. Now, multicellular organism. We, human being, are multicellular organism because we have different organ systems. We have heart system, cardiovascular system, lung system. It is also known as pulmonary or respiratory system. We have urinary system, which is made up of kidneys, ureters, and there is a urinary bladder. We have a nervous system. We have musculoskeletal system. So our muscles, they help us to move. We have blood system. So there is a blood which helps us to circulate gases, nutrition, and other substances from one part of the body to other part of the body. So that is about, and in plants, you have vascular system, which helps to conduct water and nutrition. So multicellular organisms, they show division of labor. Labor means to perform work, and division is work is divided into different parts. So some tissues, organs, they do work of making food. Others, tissues, organs, they do work of digestion. Some do work of excretion. Some do work of moving, locomotion, moving the organism. Now, we've seen this organizational hierarchy now, okay? So the next question is, are the plant and animal tissues same? And the answer to that is no, they are not same. Are the plants and animal organ system are same? Obviously, no, they are not same. And why the animals and plants are different? So there are mainly two reasons for this. Because their structure is different. That is why their tissues are different. And second reason is the way they function, the plants and animals, is different as well. Now, because of these differences, the tissues have to be different. So plant tissues are different from animal tissues. Now, let us see in brief how their structure and functions, they differ. Now, plants are immobile. They are in one place. They do not move on their own unless they move them from one place to other. Whereas animals, they move. Why do animals move? Because they have to eat food. To eat food, they have to search food. Do the plants search food like this and move? No, they don't. They stand in one place, their roots go into the soil, and they suck water and nutrition from the soil. They don't have to move around for food. They don't have to catch the prey like tigers have to catch the prey. Lions have to catch the prey. Birds have to catch the prey. Human being has to create its own food. They have to uh, cultivate the plants, cultivate the fruits, vegetables, make them, prepare them, and eat. So we have to move. We have to find work. We have to find our partners. We have to protect ourselves. So we move. That needs extra energy. Plants need less energy. Animals need more energy because they keep moving. Now, there are a lot of differences, but I will only tell you the main differences. Another difference between plants and animals is in the way they grow. Now, how do plants grow? They grow up in height and they grow down. The roots grow into the soil. So while growing, there are certain groups of tissues in plants which grow faster, and there are certain tissues in plants, they keep dividing. So they keep reproducing, they keep making new cells all the life of the plant. This doesn't happen in animals. So that is the difference. The plants grow in certain areas. They grow at the tips of the plant, of the stem, and the tips of the roots, whereas animals grow more uniformly. We don't just grow up and down. We grow more uniformly. We do not have such a very strict division of dividing cells and non-dividing cells. We'll look into that little bit details in next slide. So that is the difference between plant and animal tissues. Yeah. And another difference is that plants have a simple structure. They have simple organ systems, whereas animals, humans and other animals, have got very specialized organ system. It's a complex organ system, and this leads to these differences in the tissues in plants and animals. So that's a difference. Now let us go into more details of plant tissues. We are going to look into plant tissues today. And then in next lecture, I will talk about animal tissues. So you can see this slide. This is a classification of plant tissue. So remember, there are two major classes of plant tissues. You can see in this chart, there is a meristematic tissue and there is a permanent tissue. So meristematic tissue is not permanent. It keeps dividing. It keeps producing new cells. And there are three classes of meristematic tissue. You can see apical meristem, lateral meristem, and intercalary meristem. Permanent tissues are more specialized. They are permanent, so they don't divide. They can be grouped into two classes, simple tissue or complex tissue. And simple tissue again has got three classes: parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about these classes in next slides. So don't worry about it. And you just have to remember their names and just few things about what they mean, how they are, their basic characteristics. For your level, if you just know this classification from this chapter on plant tissue, that will be enough for you. So three divisions of simple permanent tissue are parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Okay, and that's it. This much you need to know. Now, two divisions of complex permanent tissue are xylem and phloem. So xylem and phloem, these are the complex permanent tissues. Xylem has got 4 more types of cells in them, and phloem has got 5 more types of cells in them. We'll look into that in a little while. Plant tissues can also be divided into living and dead tissues. And you can see meristematic tissue is a living tissue, parenchyma, collenchyma, some cells of xylem and phloem are living tissue, whereas sclerenchyma and some cells of xylem and phloem are dead tissue. So this is about classification of plant tissue. So if you just remember this classification in year 8, and then you will be learning more details when you go into year 9. So this classification is important for your year 9. Now let's move on to more details of plant tissues. And we saw there are different groups of plant tissues, classification, and meristematic tissue is a type of plant tissue. It is not a permanent tissue, and it is a simple tissue. So if you look at this diagram, so classification of plant tissues, there's a meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. So meristematic tissue is not permanent. It's a temporary, it's keep dividing and it keeps producing different cells. So 3 types of meristematic tissue here. This is the stem of a plant. Meristematic tissue also exists in roots of the plant, at the tip of the roots. So growth of the plant occurs in certain specific regions because they have this dividing tissue known as meristematic tissue located at these points. And depending on the region where these tissues are present, they are divided into apical meristem. You can see it is at the apex, the intercalary meristem. The intercalary meristem is there in some plants located at the nodes. So these are the nodal regions of the meristem. The meristem is made up of different nodes, and at the junction between 2 nodes, the meristem is located at the root of the leaf. You can see it is at the root of the leaf between two nodes. So it is in the nodal region at the root of the leaf. That is intercalary meristem. Apical meristem is at the apex, and there is a lateral meristem. Lateral means on the sides. It is just inside the epithelial layers of the stem. And how do these work? So they keep dividing. Apical meristem helps increase the length of the plant. So plant keeps on growing taller and taller. The branches keep on growing. The lateral meristem increases the girth, the diameter of the plant. And the intercalary meristem helps in increasing the internodal section and the leaves of the plants. So it helps in the growth of this region of the plant. Okay, so that is about cells of meristem, the classification of meristematic cells. The cells here are very active. They keep generating new cells all the time. So I'm just going to go to the next slide now. Now we have just seen the meristematic tissue. Now let's have a look at permanent tissue. So permanent tissue, if you look into many books, this is the diagram given for permanent tissue. It is because it is stand and it looks a bit complex, doesn't it? So I have taken this diagram for permanent tissues. The same diagram, the same stem cut transversely. So the stem of a green plant, a small plant, is cut transversely and the slice is observed under the microscope. And how will that look? Have a look at this diagram. So you can see this is a cross section of the stem with outside epidermis. Then there is a collenchymal layer inside the epidermis, parenchyma occupying all of the inside beneath the collenchyma. And these two layers, collenchyma and parenchyma, are together called as cortex. And embedded within the parenchyma are the vascular bundles. You can see the vascular bundles are arranged in a nice circle. And what is vascular bundle? Can you see that vascular bundle now? It's the same diagram, but it is more colored, so it is more attractive and you can understand. So you have epidermis, collenchyma, parenchyma, collenchyma and parenchyma, they form cortex, and vascular bundles are arranged in a perfect circle. Look at the bottom of this diagram. What is the vascular bundle? What does it contain? It contains xylem on the inside of the circle and phloem is outside. Yeah, so xylem is on the inner side and phloem is on the outer side of the vascular bundle, and they are excuse me, they are enclosed in a sheath. So xylem and phloem together form vascular bundle, right? So that's about introduction to permanent tissue. We'll go more details into permanent tissue now. So as you might remember, the permanent tissues can be simple permanent tissue or complex permanent tissue. Now, simple permanent tissues, you don't have to know the details at this stage, but I will just give you a little introduction about the simple types of simple permanent tissue. Why they are called simple permanent tissue? Because they are made up of only one type of cell. So parenchymal tissue is made up of a single type of cell. All the cells look same. The chlorenchyma is made up of all the same type of cells. And the one on the right side of the screen is sclerenchyma, made up of all same type of cells. You can actually see the green tissue in figure A is parenchymal tissue. It is a simple permanent tissue. It consists of thin cell wall. The cells have a thin cell wall. They all are living cells and they are loosely arranged. So there are a lot of spaces around the cell. You can see between these green cells, there are spaces. What are these spaces called? They are called intercellular spaces. The space between two cells is called intercellular space. The cells of parenchymal tissue, they store food. So that's their function here. Now, second tissue type, which is shown in diagram B, is cholenchyma, right? So it again is very important tissue here in the stem. It is there in most of the plants. They are slightly different from the cells of not slightly, they are greatly different from parenchymal cells. The cells have got thick walls, especially the thick corners. Can you see them? So these thick corners make it different from parenchymal cells, and these cells have got thick walls. The nucleus is located on the side. Yeah, it is pushed to the side of the cell, and they are thickened corners. They are different from parenchymal cells. Cholenchyma is very important for flexibility. So when the tendrils or the stems of the climbers, they are bent, they don't break. So very important tissue. The next cell is another permanent tissue, which is called as sclerenchyma. Scleros means hard. Yeah, scleros. So they are hard. They provide strength to the plant. Now, the parts of the plant which are hard and stiff, they have sclerenchymal tissue. Now, do you remember coconut? Coconut has got a hard covering. It is called as husk of a coconut. It has got sclerenchymatous tissue. Sclerenchymatous tissue is there in fruits, in the coating of fruit, seeds, and also present in the stems. This tissue has got thick walls. And why are they thick? Because they have lignin in their walls. So these walls are meant to be, these walls are lignified thick walls, but their cell lumen is narrow. You can see the cell on the right side, extreme right side, that is the cell. And diagram C1 is a cross section. You can see the lumens of multiple cells, whereas the diagram on the right side shows a single elongated cell of sclerenchymatous tissue. So this is the example of simple permanent tissue. Simple because all the cells are same, and permanent because they cannot reproduce other types of cells. They are specific cells. So let's move on to the next slide. Now, next type of tissue we are going to learn is epidermal tissue, epidermal cells. And these are present on the outer surface of the plant. So they cover the outer surface of the leaves, stems, roots. They are there everywhere on the outer surface. And they have a protective role. So they protect the leaves, they protect the other parts of the plants. Now, if you take the section of the leaf, the slice of the leaf, it will appear like this, as shown in this slide under microscope. So they will have outer cell wall, which is made up of epidermis, which is a part of epidermis. Then there is an epidermal cell layer, and then under the epidermis there is an inner tissue of the leaf or the plant. Now the diagram on the right side shows the epidermal tissue in more details. Epidermal cells, this is the outside of the plant leaf. So there are epidermal cells, and there are these little mouth-like openings. Can you see them on the slide? These mouth-like openings are called as stoma, and the cells around the stoma, all the other cells, they are called epidermal cells. Epidermal cells can be very different in different plants depending on where the plants grow. So this is the basic structure of epidermal cells. Let's have a look at the stoma, and let's have a look at what do the stoma do, right? So this is again another simplified diagram of epidermal cells. You can see the epidermal cells are surrounding the circular stoma. Stoma means opening, mouth opening, and it has got two bean-shaped, kidney-shaped cells. They are called as guard cells. So these bean-shaped cells, they can tighten and close the stoma, or they can relax and open the stoma. So this is a mouth-like opening into the epidermal cell layer. What does it do? It allows exchange of water and exchange of gases. So exchange of water is called as transpiration, and it also allows exchange of gases, oxygen, carbon dioxide, through this stoma. Now epidermal cells are, as I said, they are all over the plant. So they are there at the root as well. And at the root, epidermal cells give rise to hair-like structure, hair-like parts. So they are hairy. That increases the surface area of the epidermal cell layer. So they can absorb more water, they can absorb more nutrition, minerals, and whatever they need for survival and growth of the plant. So this is about epidermal cell layer. This is again simple permanent cell layer because it is made up of same kind of cells, and the cells cannot divide, so they are permanent, not meristematic. Now quickly we'll go through the permanent tissues of the plant. And as I said, there are two types of permanent tissues of the plant. Simple and complex. And complex permanent tissues can be xylem or phloem. Now, you don't need many details of this because you will learn this next year. So xylem and phloem, these are the tissues in the plant which are involved in conducting water, minerals from one part to the other, and food, energy from leaves to other parts. So xylem conduct water and minerals from roots to the other parts. So when the roots suck water and mineral and nutrients, that is sent to other parts through xylem tissue. And when the food is prepared by leaves, it is sent from leaves to the other parts by phloem tissue. So xylem has got 4 types of cells: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. So just remember that xylem is responsible for conducting water, minerals, salts, nutrients from roots to the other parts. and they have got 4 types of tissues, and that's how they look. You will learn more details about this next year. Okay, so just remember this at this stage. And phloem conducts food and water, food especially which is prepared in leaves, the energy that is sent from leaves to the other parts of the plant. And phloem, you can see in the diagram, it has got 5 different cells. So it has got sieve cells, sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. So there are 5 types of cells. So xylem and phloem are more permanent tissues. They are permanent complex tissues. So next, animal tissue I'm going to take next time. Let's go quickly through this classification again. So classification of plant tissue is meristematic tissue, permanent tissue. Meristematic tissues are apical meristem, lateral meristem, intercalary meristem. Permanent tissues are simple and complex. Simple permanent tissues are parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. And permanent complex tissue is xylem and phloem. Xylem has got 4 cell types, phloem has got 5 cell types. So that's the classification of the tissues. And the tissues can be plant tissues or animal tissues. So we've just gone through the plant tissues in this lecture. Next time, we will go through the animal tissues.